and now the entity or person that have been sued are now on the board, that seems like an apparent conflict of interest to me. And so I am not sure, I haven't seen that resolved, and I've had that question for the last 3 or 4 months.
So,
I've seen this, and I still don't see resolution of it, so I guess I raised that. I still have that question on my mind. It seems like a conflict to me.
so just so I'm clear, let me see if I can restate it so I can understand. What you're saying is that if a person has had an issue with the association,
To the point of litigation.
To the point of litigation, that's now on the board, that's helping make decisions, similar decisions or on the same matter.
Well, if you've been sued collectively by the homeowners, because you represent the homeowners, and you've been sued by the homeowners, we have incurred legal costs, we have come to a settlement, whatever that settlement may be. In my legal world, to have that person now involved in making decisions that are associated with finances from an optic view, appears to be a conflict of interest.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that has been reviewed, looked at, resolved.
Well,
I still have a question.
that issue, yeah,
I have a question.
understand.
It's not resolved in my mind.
Sure, I understand.
That's why I'm raising it. And it's no offense to anyone. It could be anyone here.
Sure.
But you don't act in a vacuum. You act as a board representing us. And as a homeowner, that is not resolved in my mind.
Understood. And I have received
not trying to
emails
create
about
drama.
certain people that members have viewed as almost being hypocritical in their position as a board member. While it's not on the agenda, I understand your concerns, and that issue is going to be addressed. But with respect to your question, if somebody has gone through a litigation with the association, I mean, we can talk to legal counsel, but I'm pretty certain that it doesn't disqualify them from being engaged in the decision-making process. Now, granted, understand that this board itself, and I think this is very important, this board is going to act by majority, not by an individual. Even me, people have come to me and said, "Hey, I don't like that person. I want you to remove them." I don't have that power. Okay, so this board will act as a majority, but with respect to these rules and communication, so we don't get off topic, I think that it's all the more important when you have concerns that an owner has of the appearance, that we address the issues in a way that minimizes discretion. Like, there's no discretion.
Just let me raise one other point. It reminds me of the optics and the concern that was raised with the mulch. There was no, I think, actual conflict, at least from what I could determine as a homeowner.
Well, we can deal
But
with
so those two are comparisons.
Yeah, I understand.
So it's not
There are
personal
examples.
to anyone here. It's the same kind of scenario where you're on two sides.
There are examples, and I appreciate
of,
your raising examples of
That's all I'm asking.
appearance versus
That's all.
actuality.
Optics.
Sure, and that's going to be dealt with, and we'll deal with that during public comment section and other meetings. But
That's all.
for right now, in terms of communication, I just want to make sure everybody's okay with the methodology of communication we laid out. Yes, sir.
After listening to your position on this particular issue, I have only one question to you, that the board members' characters or their integrity should be reflective, and the homeowners should not get the message that you can be, and you can have a litigation, you can be bankrupt, but you can still be signing the checks. So your position, it surprises me that if somebody has a litigation against HOA, it doesn't carry much of a weight as being a board member. I mean, they can be board member also, So that sends a kind of a message to the homeowner that you can be delinquent and still be on the board.
Well, look, I understand the nature of the question. Okay, this is not about me. This is about a board orientation tonight. What I'm telling you, and what I've told every member of the community that sent me an email, and there have been several, that it's important that you come and you voice your concerns, and that this board hears it. I'm one person. Okay, this board acts by a majority. Okay, if there's a motion made, there's a motion made, and then there's a second, just like we went through. So at the end of the day, if somebody has an issue, you bring it to the board in a meeting like this, and you request action. Okay? When we get to the point where we're ready to have our meetings, this is a board orientation meeting, so I can make sure that everybody on this board knows how this is supposed to run. And so the next item I was going to start talking about was the code of conduct, which is also very important, okay? And we're going to talk about committees, and we have an hour, okay? But this issue is not going away, okay? The treasurer issue is not going away, you know? Mr. Vivien's issue is not going away. We have to deal with it. I've inherited this as your president, okay? It will be dealt with. It won't be dealt with tonight, okay? But we need to get through this meeting with an orientation, not on personal agendas, not on personal attacks, but we need to make sure everybody understands the rules. We need to understand that the communications can't be blasted to everybody. That can't be, you know, put on YouTube by a board member about their position versus another board member or their feelings. We have to channel communications because we have a divisiveness in this community that we have to get rid of. It's not going to happen overnight. But I, as your board president, I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to do the best I can. It's not going to be easy because I'm dealing with things every day. Okay? So you have my word that it's going to be dealt with. It just won't be dealt with tonight. Okay? Okay. And I'm trying to get through the orientation so we have a point in time of public comment at the end, because I did promise some folks that we would have a chance for public comment, because I do want the board to hear some of the writings that I've been receiving all week long. Okay? So let me keep moving if we can. The Code of Conduct is an important document, and for the members of the audience, it's a document that each board member has to sign. And it goes through things like the board's responsibility to regularly attend meetings, to review materials and be prepared for the meetings, to review the financial reports, be familiar with it, be familiar with the budget, make a reasonable inquiry before making decisions, and to respond to members' inquiries. And I would add to it, respond promptly. Respond, you know, within 24 hours, 36 hours if there's an emergency. But we have to be responsive to you. That's our goal for the management company too. Okay? And I need to know if there are issues that are unresponded to that are not dealt with as your president, so I can make sure that I'm following up. And the management company will do the same thing with me. Okay? The next item is professional conduct. Okay? There is a prohibition on private gain and self-interest. That's a big deal. We cannot solicit or receive compensation from the association for serving on this board, which we don't. We're all free. We're all volunteers. Remember that when you're yelling at us making personal attacks, okay? Make promises to vendors unless prior written approval from the board. Nobody can make a contract with a vendor unless this board approves it. That's really important for everybody who's looking at this treasurer issue saying, hey, they're just going to be writing checks. Well, let me tell you something. A check was going to be written this week for some issues. And the first person to step up was KS to say, we don't have the backup for this check. We then got the backup, and we're going to issue a check. But there are checks and controls through the management company and through this board that have been put in place by the prior board that should at least give some of you comfort despite some of the emails that I'm getting. Okay? There's more than one set of eyes looking at this stuff. Okay? The other things that the board members can't do is seek preferential treatment for themselves or their relatives. We can't use association property, services, equipment, businesses for gain or benefit for themselves. No self-dealing, that's the bottom line. That's the thing that each person up here signed, okay? Confidential information, this is very important. The directors and committee members that are up here, committee members, not just directors, that are up here now and past members have a duty of confidentiality. And the point is that we can't use your personal information. Okay? What does that mean? If one of you is delinquent, if one of you is in litigation, if one of you has filed bankruptcy, we're not supposed to be talking about it. Sounds a little bit ironic that we're all talking about bankruptcies of people, that we're talking about things on social media, about people's kids and other things. We can't do that. I'm not going to let this board do that. Okay? And I would ask that you use decorum in making sure that we don't do that. So I'm going to make every effort I can, but we cannot maintain our community without division, without having those discussions, okay? That's my personal opinion. I don't know what the other board members' opinions are, but as this board president, I'm going to make sure that there are some things that I'm going to rule with an iron fist, and that's one of them. Accuracy of information. This is totally one of the most important things. Directors, committee members may not knowingly misrepresent facts. All association data, records, and reports must be accurate and truthful and prepared in a proper manner. That's really important. Interaction with employees to ensure efficient management operations. Committee members and directors shall observe the following guidelines. The president is the liaison between the board and the management company. In other words, these board members are not supposed to be hassling the management company, okay? Except for the president, committee members and directors may not give direction to the management company or employees. We cannot direct the employees of First Service. That's for Christine. If Christine needs direction, come to me and I'll make it happen, okay? That's the way it's supposed to work. We have too many conflicting directions. You know, nobody wants conflicting directions on a job because then you don't know who to answer to. We can't have too many chefs in the kitchen. Another issue is that the directors may not contact management after hours unless there's an emergency. Call me, email me. I mean, I don't sleep very much and you can always reach me, okay? I'm trying to go through this quick. Professional behavior. I'm going to do my very best to try to be very professional, okay? And I understand that there are a lot of emotions on some of these issues. I'm going to try to be as direct as I can. I'm trying to be as responsive and respectful of your time. That's what I think all of us are going to try to do. When conflicts arise, disclosure and recusal, very important. Directors and committee members must immediately, and this goes to the point that you made, it's their burden. They must immediately disclose the existence of any conflict of interest, whether their own or others. And directors and committee members must withdraw from participation. No interested directors or committee members can act if they have a material interest. Violation of that policy, if you violate that, you're deemed to be acting outside the course and scope of your authority. And for those of you who are business people in the audience, that's a real problem when you're trying to have insurance coverage. So that's something that's going to be followed. I've been talking a lot, and this isn't my meeting, it's supposed to be our meeting. Let me stop if I can before I take the question. Can I ask if there's any questions of the board on what I've talked about, if there's any clarification needed?
I have an issue.
Okay.
I have an issue with vendors approaching board members, trying to do like a favor in a very nice, being very friendly way. And rather than get involved in any of that, I would appreciate if somehow or another we communicated to our vendors that would be a very inappropriate offer to try to help us out or try to do something a little more. It's the appearance of impropriety. And I would like to avoid that at all costs.
I would recommend that if any board member is approached by a vendor, that you have to send them to the management company. That's the methodology. Okay?
If it involves an interest that involves
If it is correct.
if it's something like they come up and say, hey buddy, how you doing? Then that's fine. You can talk to them now.
Sure. We're talking about financial, material financial interest.
No, what I'm trying to say is if they're trying to just help you out or just trying to do you an extra favor or I don't feel comfortable with a vendor, with any vendors, especially since I'm on the board, as I hope we all feel the same way, even just trying to do an extra something for whatever that is.
So we just refer them to Dan or Christine?
No, you just say stop. You don't just say no.
Let me reread or read the provision that would apply. A board member, neither a board member nor a committee member shall solicit or receive any gift, gratuity, favor, entertainment, loan, or any other thing of value for themselves or their relatives from a person or company who's seeking a business or financial relationship with the association. It is incumbent on the person who is approached, even though they did not solicit it, to direct that person to the management company. If somebody's going to do something on your property and they're going to expect to be paid for it, it needs to go through the management company. That's what I think is pretty clear from this code of conduct.
Okay, good.
Any other questions? Sir, you had your hand up.
Well, this organization is a quasi nonprofit. In the nonprofit world, on your tax return, you have to spell out, and every board member has to sign a conflict of interest policy as they join the board. And so I would suggest that would be a good idea. Not that they have talk about it, they should have it signed as they go on. And also that there's a so-called whistleblower policy, which is really to discuss any potential conflicts.
Very good point. This code of conduct has been signed by every member of this board that's sitting in front of you today.
Okay.
And And that's a requirement of Florida law under 720.
Yeah, but you didn't really mention that they required this.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I had said that at the beginning. I apologize. This has been accepted in writing by everybody. Yes, no.
I have just a immediate comment with regard to what Eric was saying and what KS was saying. I think it might behoove the board to maybe send to your vendors your code of conduct in that regard on how approaching, because you're going to have instances where, as you said, you're going to have committee members as chair that are going to be interacting with said vendors. So you're going to have interaction with vendors. So it's not like you can say, hey, go to the management. You're going to be dealing with these vendors, and then this way, if it's that code of conduct is out there, that takes the burden off of you. Everybody
Great
understands.
idea. Thank you. Yes, sir. You have your hand up?
No,
Sorry.
no, I didn't.
Sorry. Anybody else? Any other comments? Okay. Moving quickly. The next item on the agenda is committees. Again, not to rehash what I talked about before, part of this meeting is to discuss the current committee makeup and to take nominations for chairs of committee. And I would encourage all the members of the audience to think about which of these committees may suit you best, that you may have time, energy, and talent to devote to some of these committees. And I know there are a lot of people that are not here that either serve on committees or want to serve on committees or maybe should be asked to serve on committees. Be thinking of your neighbors, be thinking of people that you know that have a background that's helpful. I mean, one of the committees we have is the communications committee. We need people that have IT background. I can imagine in 600 home community we have people that have IT experience. It's very helpful for a communications committee like that. Anita's not here, but I met with her earlier this week and we talked about putting all of the meetings, and this will kind of wrap up with number 6. This is the real-time access, the web access for meetings. That's the kind of thing that the committee would tackle, would take bids and with the board's approval from vendors. We'd look at the bids, they'd make a recommendation as to who we need to talk to, and we'd go from there. We would get, that type of a committee would have a substantial impact on how this organization is run. So that's an example. We have landscaping committee and other committees. Let me stop for a second and ask, Christine, do we have a current list or a list of the committees, or can you list them off so we can go through them? That'd be helpful.
The landscape committee,
I'm sorry?
landscape,
Yep.
communication,
Wait.
the security committee, maintenance committee, then it's supposed to be
Communications
the art committee, communications, the art committee, and
and ARC
and supposed to be a hearing committee.
and hearing.
Tonight.
Could you do that one more time, please?
Landscape,
Go ahead.
security, maintenance, communications, ARC, hearing,
Finance.
finance. Are there
We
any
had
other
a,
committees?
there was a social and clubhouse rental committee at one time that I don't know if you want to try to reactivate or
Social
maybe
committee.
combine it with
I like the sound of
communicate, you
I would
know.
love to do social committee again.
Okay, okay,
I also handle the foreclosures, like right now we have 42,
okay.
and I usually interact with their fields, and following up with that, I kind of backed off a little bit,
Okay.
but I would be willing to stay on that, maybe with one other person. I think that's about, more than I need, is maybe 2 or 3
Great.
people on that committee. I also.
What's it called?
There is one
Foreclosure committee?
rental homes that's
Correct.
also.
I think it would be more appropriately as a delinquency committee because it's not necessarily foreclosure.
Right, it's
Essentially, it's a delinquency and
I'd like to sit on that too, actually, if that's okay.
Should that be proposed with nothing but board members due to confidentiality reasons?
Well, it's a good question that we should ask council. It's a good question, because the delinquency committee, the question is whether we need to be careful about personal information of folks and whether we, how do we cloak the confidentiality with non-board members?
Well, we don't have non-board members accessing the accounts, and